Hello, welcome to Web of Stories. My name is Melinda. It is Tuesday. Hopefully it is Tuesday as you see this. Hopefully. So it's Tag Tuesday. I say hopefully because the tech gremlins, my water bottle here, sorry. The tech gremlins have been working their magic against me today. Like, I'm filming this hopefully the day before you see it. I'm filming this on the 20th of October and I'm still trying to get my video that I've been working on since yesterday up. And I don't know what the problem is. Anyway, I'm going to do a tag and we're going to cross our fingers that this works, okay? Send good vibes. Of course, if you see this, it will have worked. If you see this on October 21st, it will have worked. If you see it after that, the tech gremlins won, but let's see. Okay, so this tag, I was tagged by my good friend, Sue Jackson, to do the readers who secretly want to write Booktube tag. Do you secretly or not so secretly write? So this is really interesting because I'm in sort of two places on this one. T-shirt check, books. Don't harm kids, bigots do. Just saying, there's my t-shirt for the day. So let's get into this one. Prompt number 1, are you a reader who secretly or not so secretly wants to write? So for a long time, my answer would have been yes. I always wanted to be a writer. When I grew up, I wrote all the time. And I took a break from it in college when I had to write other stuff. And I got out of it for a while, but then I started getting back into it several years ago, like 2019 or so, I don't know. It was pre-pandemic. I successfully completed NaNoWriMo, rest in peace. And I wrote a fun little story that will never see the light of day. And then once I did that, I kind of felt like I was done and I haven't really felt the need to write anymore. So right now, maybe not. I might be getting back into it, but definitely I had been there in the past. Prompt 2, if you are, or even if you aren't and you're only imagining, would you prefer to write fiction or nonfiction or both? Fiction. Writing was always, when I was growing up, an outlet for my imagination. So definitely fiction. Definitely. The reason why kind of nonfiction is that feels a lot like homework. To write it, because there's all the research and such, unless you're doing something like a memoir, in which case that's a lot of self-work. And sometimes I don't feel like doing that. But it was writing papers that got me out of writing in the first place. So I would definitely say fiction. 3, do you think reading helps or hinders your writing? Why or why not? My answer to this is yes. So I think that reading is necessary to, if you want to be a writer, you need to be a reader. Definitely. That being said, in my experience, what I read while I'm writing can help or hinder. If it's something too similar, that makes things hard for me. If I'm reading something that's similar to what I'm trying to write, it doesn't, I know it's kind of like an overload. But if I read something very, very different from what I'm trying to write, that actually helps me quite a bit. So the answer to that is yes. Prompt number 4, what genres of nonfiction would you choose to write? History, social commentary, memoir, science, biographies, something else? And why would you choose that genre? Well, I'm going to say histories, because that's what I like to read in nonfiction. I like to read histories and memoirs. And we've already mentioned why I don't want to write a memoirs. I don't really want to do the deep work on myself. I mean, I should. We all process our lives. Yes, I just, I would rather write history because there's a lot of people I'd like to write histories about. However, I don't really want to do the research because I did that for a long time. And now I just want to read it. I would enjoy the reading for the research, but the actual research work might not do it. But yeah, histories. Question 5. What fiction genres would you choose to write? Fantasy, mystery, historical fiction, sci-fi, fantasy, science fiction, something else, or maybe a combination? So this is going to seem kind of ironic considering my last answer, but I would say historical fiction because that would still call for research, right? It's kind of a little bit of a process of elimination here. So the 3 genres I read are mystery. I mean, I read all the genres really, but my 3 favorite genres are mystery, historical fiction and history. And history is nonfiction. So it's mystery or historical fiction. And I just don't think I could write a good mystery. Getting all the twists and turns in, and the making sure that the clues are there but hidden so you're playing fair. I don't know if I could do that. Historical fiction, yes. Even though there's research, it gives you a format, especially if you're writing a historical fiction of a real person. It gives you a format. So yes, still research, but I would go historical fiction. Okay, that was number 5. Question 6, who would you name as your influences in writing? So I think about the writers that I would like to emulate their styles. So this is a book I'm going to be reading in November. Does anybody read? Louise Erdrich. This is Love Medicine. This is actually a reread for me, but it's been so long since I've read it that I don't remember it. Also, this should have more stuff in it than when I first read it, because apparently there's more in this. Also, I have my right there. So Louise Erdrich, I love her writing. If you go into the classics, I'm a Bronte girly. Definitely an Anne Bronte. I mean, Charlotte Bronte wrote a banger with Jane Eyre, but that was kind of the exception to the rule with her. And Emily's Emily. I loved Emily Bronte. I love her writing, but I can't do that. But you say Anne Bronte. Another one that because I really loved this book, and it kind of goes with the Brontes because this is a very Brontean novel, but this author, I quite like her writing as well, and that's Diane Setterfield. And the book I'm thinking particularly about is The 13th Tale. I loved the structure of that book. It is a bit of a mystery, but it's, it does have that mystery element, but the way it's done is really, it really wasn't a great book, and it was very Brontean. So there you go. 7, do you think a person should stick to writing what one knows, or especially in the case of speculative fiction, do you think a person can just make it all up as long as one stays consistent within the story? Generally, I think you can, it's fiction, you can do what you want. My caveat to that is I'm not going to tell you what you should or shouldn't do, but I generally don't want to read books about racism by white people. I'm sorry, I don't. I don't want to read novels about racism by white people. I want those to be own voices books. So I guess I'm a little bit against cultural appropriation on this one. If I'm reading about, a different culture, I'd like to read by someone who's actually in that culture, if that makes sense. Now, if you're talking about science fiction, fantasy, do whatever you want. The guardrails are off. And if you're writing it's a hard one. I mean, the whole cultural appropriation thing is hard, but I think maybe if you do historical fiction, you have a little bit more of a guideline. I don't know. If I'm reading a historical fiction novel based on a historical character who is African American or Latinx or whatever, I would like the author to be of that group. That's my feeling on that. I'm not telling other people what to do. I'm telling you what I want to read. Question 8, and I think this is a really good one. Do you feel that profanity, graphic violence, and adult situations are overused in writing? So the way this question is phrased, I'm going to say yes. And here's why. I am not against any of those things as long as they are needed for the story. We're going to go adult situations here as an example. I take that back. I'm going to go violence on this one. I have read books that would have very violent scenes. But if you were to take the violent scene out of it, you wouldn't even notice anything was missing because the story doesn't move forward in any way during that violent scene. That's it being overused. So I don't mind profanity, graphic violence, adult situations, whatever, as long as they're necessary to the story. I find if they're not necessary to the story, then yes, they're being overused. They are being overused. You shouldn't have anything in your novel that shouldn't be there, that doesn't need to be there. And so, yes. So my answer to that is generally yes, but it's not because I don't want to see those things. It's that I want authors and editors to take care with them and make sure if they're going to use them, that they are used because the novel needs them. Question 9. Do you feel that books should have warnings, a la movies, so readers know what to expect? Why or why not? So the way I read this question is almost like, do you think they should have ratings like R, PG-13, whatever? And no. I think trigger warnings are an important thing. I do. I think, now, do I think the book needs to put them out? I don't know about that. I mean, there's places where you can find trigger warnings. Storygraph is great for that, by the way. That is like built into Storygraph. If you're looking at a book and you want to know the trigger warnings, you can just go and see what the trigger warnings are, what people said trigger warnings are. Fantastic. If there is no other reason to start a Storygraph account than that, I mean, that right there. So I do think that there are, you never know. You never know what is going, like, I recently read, if you've seen my weekly wrap up, which is hopefully uploading right now, I read recently the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. In there are some rodent scenes. Okay? Now, I personally don't have a problem with rodent scenes. I just don't. Bookish best friend could barely almost DNF the book at the rodent scene because that was just too much for her. It's fine. People are different. So I think knowing these things coming into it, because that would be I mean, if I were in her place, let's say I was someone who has an issue with rodent scenes, I would be missing out on a book I would really enjoy if I came to that scene without knowing it was coming up. Does that make sense? So I am for trigger warnings. I'm not for ratings, which is kind of what I feel like that question's asking, because they say it's like movies. But I don't think books should be rated. I just think that the trigger warnings should be there in a way that you can access them if you want them. There are people who don't want the trigger warnings because they're afraid they spoil them. I totally understand that too. That's why I think they should be there for people to access if they want them. That's my feeling on that. And now we're going to tag others. I didn't really prepare on this one. So I'm going to go Sui because I know she writes. I'm going to go Mariandria because I know she writes. And Tracy. I think Tracy writes as well. So hopefully I got some writers in there. That's what happens when it's off the top of your head. Who you're going to do. So those are my tags. Thank you, Sue, for tagging me. This was a fun one. Hopefully you're seeing it on the 21st when I'm hoping to put it up. Because, man, the tech issues are just killing me. If you want to play the emoji game, give me a little something writing, like a pen or something like that, because that's what this is about. And if you'd like to do this tag and I didn't tag you, just go ahead and do it. You are invited. It's an open invitation. Like, subscribe, join my Discord, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.